Hello everyone, I welcome you all in lecture 3 of module 3, bending stresses, shear stresses and torsion under course mechanics of solids, and part A of that module regarding bending stresses in beams that we are discussing. And in the first two lectures of this particular module, we have discussed about derivation of flexural formula, that was m by I is equal to sigma by y is equal to E divided by R. And also we discussed about three numerical related to that flexural formula. And in this lecture again we are going to discuss about two more numerical regarding bending stresses. So the statement of the numerical 4 regarding bending stresses is something like shown over here. The bottom flange of cast iron I section simply supported beam is 200 by 60 mm. Top flange is 100 by 30 mm, and web is 350 by 40 mm. So this is regarding cross section of the beam for the analysis. And it is asked that find the load per meter run which can be carried over the 3 meter span if the permissible stress in tension is 50 megapascal and compression is 90 megapascal. So in earlier three lectures the cross section was given and load applied on that particular beam that was given with cross section and span of the beam, and it was asked to find the bending stresses, and it was asked to draw the bending stress distribution diagram. Now, in this kind of numerical, the permissible stresses in tension as well as in compression of the material used for construction is given, the span of the beam is given, and the cross section of the beam is given. And it is asked to find the maximum load carrying capacity of that particular beam. So, we will go one by one step, say solution. Now we will draw the beam, say it is simply supported beam as shown, and it is said that the span of that beam is 3 meter, so it is drawn over here. Let us say one support is support A and another is support B, one is hinge support and another is roller support, and let us say it is subjected to UDL throughout as it is shown that find the load per meter run which can be carried over 3 meter span. So it is shown over here as W units per meter throughout the span. So this beam is to be analyzed and the cross section is given something like this. So what is given in the discussion is the bottom flange of that cast iron I section is bottom flange is 200 by 60 mm. So that is shown over here. The bottom flange is 200 its width and 60 mm its thickness. Then web is given as 350 by 40 mm. So 350 is its depth and 40 mm is its thickness. So that is drawn over here, and then it is said that top flange is 100 by 30 mm. So it is again shown over here. Top flange 100 mm width and 30 mm depth. So that is shown over here in the second diagram. So that cross section is drawn. Then it is said that as the beam is simply supported beam, the maximum bending moment will be at midspan. Now again one more thing is to be written over here. It is a simply supported beam, and if it is subjected to UDL throughout, that is not written over here. If it is subjected to UDL throughout, then the maximum bending moment will be at midspan. So if this is the case, then what we can write is maximum bending moment is if the UDL is W and L is span, WL square divided by 8. This we discussed earlier many times. So if we calculate that, L square divided by 8 or 3 square divided by 8, that gives us 1.125 W, and W is required to be calculated. That was the question. And as it is simply supported beam, this bending moment will be sagging bending moment. So there will be tension at bottom and compression at top. With this, to calculate the position of neutral axis from bottom. Now this is as usual the procedure. So you know that y is equal to a1 x1 plus or a1 y1 plus a2 y2 plus a3 y3 divided by a1 plus a2 plus a3. So that is to be written, or what is written over here is summation ai, that is the area of a particular rectangular section, and yi is its centroidal distance from the point about which we are finding the position of the neutral axis. So if we are taking it from bottom, then that yi will be its centroid from bottom, and summation a, that is whatsoever areas are there, whatever we are considering, the summation of that area of cross section of each rectangle, that is to be written. So for top flange, its area is 100 mm by 30 mm. So that is written over here, a1 100 into 30 into, it is multiplied with 425, that is y1. So if we take movement of that area about bottom, then its distance becomes, now this is 60 mm plus 350 mm. So 350 plus 60 gives us 410 and plus 15 from top. So this gives us 425 total centroid of first area or top area from bottom, that is 425 mm. Then if we go further for calculating the position of web, then its area is 350 mm by 40 mm. So that is written over here, 350 by 40 into its centroid from bottom. So its centroid from bottom will become 60 and half of 350. So 175 and 175 plus 60. So that gives us 235. And then the third area, it is bottom flange, that is 200 by 60. It is written over here, and its centroid from bottom will be 30. So that a1 y1 plus a2 y2 plus a3 y3, that is written over here, 100 into 30 into 425. This is a1 y1 top rectangle from bottom plus a2 y2, that is written over here, 350 into 40 into 235 plus then a3 y3. A3 is 200 into 60 into y3, that is 30. So that is the movement of all areas are taken about bottom. Now divided by area of each cross section or each rectangle. So that is 100 into 30 top flange, 350 into 40 the web, and 200 into 60, that is bottom flange. So this calculation gives us the position of neutral axis from bottom. So that gives us y is equal to 169.83 millimeter from bottom. As we have taken movement of all areas about bottom, this distance of neutral axis is from bottom. So what we can write is y bottom is 169.83 millimeter, and now from complete depth, that is 350 plus 60 plus 30, from this complete depth, if we deduct this 169.83 millimeter, we can write y top, that is 270.17 meter. So that is the position of neutral axis from the topmost position of the cross section. So after calculating this neutral axis position, you can go for calculating the moment of inertia of the complete I section about neutral axis. So you need to use parallel axis theorem, because for rectangle its moment of inertia is BD cube by 12, and that BD cube by 12 is about its own centroid. And now we are interested in finding the moment of inertia about neutral axis. So what is shown now in this diagram? In earlier diagram this was not shown. Now in this diagram all the distances are drawn over there. So what we have discussed earlier is the y bottom distance is 169.83. So that is shown over here. This is 169.83, and this is position of neutral axis. So that is shown. And from top, the position of neutral axis is at 270.17 millimeter. So that is written over here. And then from center of top flange, from centroid of top flange, the position of neutral axis will become 255.17 mm. So that is 255.17. So that is 270.17 minus 15. That centroid of that first area from top, 15 mm. So that is deducted, and then it gives us 255.17 millimeter. And in between web centroid and the neutral axis or centroid of complete eye section, that distance can be calculated by deducting that its own centroid will be at 175, that is from this position, and this is 60. So 175 plus 60, that is total length of centroid of web from bottom, and from bottom 169.83 mm is the distance of neutral axis. So if you deduct that from earlier calculation, then it gives a distance between centroid, own centroid of the web from neutral axis, that gives us 65.17 millimeter. And similarly, now from bottom neutral axis is at 169.83, and from bottom the centroid of third area, that is bottom flange, is at 30 mm. So from 169.83, if you deduct that 30, you will get distance between neutral axis and centroid of third area. That distance becomes 139.83 mm. So those all calculations are done, and then this diagram is completed. So now with all these distances, we can go for finding parallel axis theorem, because we want to find the moment of inertia of complete eye section. So for individual rectangle, it is BD cube by 12 about its own centroid, and then you need to transfer from its own centroid to neutral axis by using AX square. So that is now written over here. So for first area, top area, that is top flange, its B is 100 and D is 30. So that BD cube by 12 is written over here first of all. So 100 into 30 cube divided by 12, plus area and square of the distance between those two parallel axes. So that distance is 255.17 and area is 100 by 30. So that is written over here, 100 into 30 into 255.17 square. So that gives us the moment of inertia of that top flange about neutral axis. Similarly, if we go for further calculation to calculate moment of inertia of web about neutral axis, then that gives for first calculation BD cube by 12 about its own centroid. That is now B over here is 40 mm and D is 350. So now that becomes 40 into 350 cube divided by 12, and 40 into 350 is its area, and the distance between those two parallel axes, its own centroid and neutral axis of complete eye section. So that is 65.17 millimeter. So that is written over here, 350 into 40 is its area into 65.17 square, that is x square, that is written over here. Then again we need to go for calculating moment of inertia of third area, that is bottom flange, about the neutral axis. So for that again we will be writing BD cube by 12. Now B is 200 mm and D is 60 mm. So that is written over here, 200 into 60 cube divided by 12, plus area 200 into 60 into now distance between its own centroid from neutral axis. That was calculated and written earlier. So that is 139.83. So square of that. So that gives us the moment of inertia of that third rectangle, that is bottom flange, about neutral axis by using that parallel axis theorem. So if we calculate this complete equation, then we get the moment of inertia of complete eye section about its own neutral axis as 636.16 into 10 to the power 6 millimeter to the power 4. Because all the dimensions are in millimeter, so that moment of inertia will be in millimeter to the power 4. So now we can go further for discussion regarding exactly what analysis we want to go for. So in continuation of that was the cross section, and these were the distances. And now we need to go for finding moment of resistance, how much bending moment that particular cross section can carry with the permissible values of tensile stresses and compressive stresses. And as the beam is simply supported, maximum tensile stress will be at bottom and maximum compressive stress will be at top, as it will be subjected to sagging type of bending moment. As it is simply supported beam, it will be subjected to sagging type of bending moment, creating tension at the maximum tensile stress at bottom and maximum compressive stress at top. So we will be going for again with that flexural formula, that is M divided by I, that is bending moment divided by moment of inertia, is equal to sigma divided by Y. So that is the stress. It may either be tensile stress or compressive stress depending on the position at which we are finding the stresses, and Y is the distance of that position at which we are calculating the stresses from the neutral axis. So now instead of using that third term E divided by R, that is Young's modulus divided by that curvature, so we can rewrite this as M divided by I is that is about neutral axis, is equal to sigma T divided by Y bottom. Now it is simply supported beam, so at the bottom, bottommost fiber, it will be subjected to maximum tensile stress, and that is equal to sigma C divided by Y top. So at the topmost fiber, the maximum compressive stress will be getting developed. So with this we can go for further analysis. Like if stress in tension reaches its maximum value, what will be compressive stress? That we can analyze. Like sigma C divided by Y top is equal to sigma T divided by Y bottom. Now what we can rewrite this equation is sigma C is equal to sigma T multiplied with Y top divided by Y bottom. So that can be written. So what is written over here is sigma T divided by Y bottom multiplied with Y top. So we have calculated that earlier from neutral axis. Y is what is the distance of the topmost fiber, that is 255.17, and Y bottom is 169.83, and sigma T permissible tensile stress, it is given as 50 megapascal. So if we substitute that 50 megapascal and these two distances, so then if we calculate the compressive stress getting developed in that condition, will be 75.12 megapascal, and permissible compressive stress is 90 megapascal. So it is still lesser than the permissible compressive stress. But if we go in a different way, like suppose load is applied in such a way that tension increases and the tensile stress goes up to permissible compressive stress at that particular position, then what will happen? That we will discuss. If stress in compression reaches its maximum value, the tensile stress will become now how this equation can be rewritten as sigma T is equal to sigma C divided by Y top multiplied with Y bottom. So if we rewrite that equation, then sigma T is equal to sigma C into Y bottom divided by Y top. So permissible compressive stress, it is given as 90 megapascal, and Y bottom is 169.83. So that is multiplied with Y bottom and divided by Y top. So Y top is 270.17. So that is written over here. And if we calculate now what is tensile stress getting developed is 56.57 megapascal. That is greater than permissible value. Permissible value of tensile stress is 50 megapascal. So with these two calculations, what we can conclude is, suppose load is W, if it is if you start loading that beam and the load value is such that it reaches the permissible tensile stress, at that position the compressive stress getting developed is 75.12 and it is lesser than permissible compressive stress, that is 90 megapascal. But if you go beyond that and if you load the structure in such a way that the permissible compressive stress reaches its value. At that time, the tensile stress getting developed is 56.57, which is greater than permissible tensile stress, and that is not the correct view. So, with this, what we can conclude is the safe limit is the first case. What was the first case is the tension reaches its maximum value and the compression is less than the permissible value. So this is safe value. So if we now go further for moment of resistance, then moment of resistance, now we will be considering for calculation moment of resistance the permissible tensile stress value, maximum permissible tensile stress value. So with that, now we are going to use first two terms of that equation. M by I is equal to sigma T divided by Y bottom. So we can rewrite it for the maximum bending moment carrying capacity, that is moment of resistance, is equal to sigma T divided by Y bottom into moment of inertia about neutral axis. So that gives us 50 into this is already calculated, 636.16 into 10 to the power 6 millimeter to the power 4 divided by Y bottom. Y bottom is 169.83. So that is written over here. And now if you calculate that value, then we get moment of resistance in 187.3 into 10 to the power 6 Newton mm. Now try to understand that permissible stress is given in megapascal or Newton per mm square. That Y distances we have calculated everywhere in millimeter, and we have calculated moment of inertia about neutral axis in millimeter to the power 4. So all calculations up to this position are in Newton and mm units. So that 10 to the power 6 that can be converted into kilonewton meter. So 187.3 kilonewton meter is the moment of resistance. So with this maximum bending moment carrying capacity, now you can calculate the value of the UDL that can be applied. So now if it is simply supported beam and if it is subjected to UDL throughout, then maximum bending moment will be at midspan, and the value of that is WL square divided by 8. So what we can write is W into 3 square, 3 is the span of the beam, divided by 8 is that we have calculated, that is 1.125 W. And if we equate it with the moment of resistance, that is 187.3 kilonewton meter, now we can calculate what is the value of UDL which can be applied. So the maximum uniformly distributed load carried by the beam with given cross section and given permissible values of tensile stress and compressive stress, that gives us as 166.5 kilonewton per meter. So that gives us the UDL carrying capacity of that particular beam. So with this discussion, we'll go for one more numerical regarding the same methodology. So the statement of next numerical is as shown over here. Again it is I section with a tension flange of girder of I section is 250 by 50 mm, that is tension flange, and compression flange is 150 by 30 mm, and the web is 300 by 40 mm. And if the girder is used as a cantilever beam over 2 meter span, find the load per meter run can be applied if the allowable stresses in tension is 60 megapascal and compression is 80 megapascal. So try to understand, in earlier numerical it was said with the flange that one flange is the top flange and the another flange is the bottom flange, and then you are in position to draw that cross section directly. So try to understand over here what is the discussion. It is said that the girder is used as a cantilever beam. Okay, now if it is a cantilever beam and if it is subjected to UDL throughout, then the top flange will be subjected to tension and the bottom flange will be subjected to compression. So what is given is a tension flange of a girder is 250 by 50 mm. So as it is a cantilever beam, this flange is at top. So while drawing the cross section, you should take care of it. And compression flange is 150 by 30 mm. So that is bottom flange. that is compression flange of cantilever beam, that is at the bottom. So that care is required to be taken, and web as it is. So you can draw now the diagram, and now as per the procedure whatever we have done in earlier numerical, you can go for further analysis. So if you draw the beam, that span is given, it is 2 meter. Let us say one support is support A, which is fixed support. As it is cantilever, the another support or another position will be free end, and then it is subjected to UDL W throughout units per meter, and then span is given, it is 2 meter. So it is drawn over here, and the cross section is something like this. So you need to take care of this cross section while drawing this cross section. What is said that the tension flange is 250 mm by 50 mm, and it is cantilever beam. Once again I am saying that it is cantilever beam and it will be subjected to hogging type of bending moment, and tension will be at top. So this flange is at top, and the bottom flange, that will be in compression. So compression flange 150 by 30 mm will be at bottom. So that is drawn over here. So while taking diagram or while drawing this cross section, you need to take care about whatever statement is regarding numerical. That's all. And it is said that web is 300 by 40 mm. So it is as it is, whatsoever the position is. Now again, if it is a cantilever beam, the maximum bending moment will be at fixed end, that we have discussed earlier. And now if it is UDL throughout, then total load due to UDL over span L, that will be WL, and its centroid will be L by 2. So total bending moment will become WL square divided by 2. So that becomes W into L is 2 square divided by 2. So that gives us 2W maximum bending moment, and that will be at fixed end, and that is hogging type of bending moment. Now again, as usual, you need to find position of neutral axis, and you need to find the moment of inertia of complete I section about neutral axis for further analysis. So if we consider moment of areas of these three rectangles about bottom, then what we can write is for first top area, that is top flange, that is 250 by 50. So that is written over here, 250 by 50 into its distance from bottom. So this is from top it is 25 mm. So from bottom it becomes 30 plus 300 plus 25. So that gives us 355 mm. So that is A1 Y1. Then A2 Y2 for that area of second rectangle, that is web, that is 300 by 40, and its own centroid, that will be at 150 mm from top of bottom flange, and 30 mm is thickness of that bottom flange. So 150 plus 30, so that gives us 180. So 300 by 40 into 180, that is A2 Y2, plus now A3 Y3, that is regarding bottom flange, that is 150 by 30 is its area, and from bottom its centroid will be at 15. So that gives 150 into 30 into 15. So now this part is regarding A1 Y1 plus A2 Y2 plus A3 Y3 divided by sum of complete area. Then that gives us 250 by 50 top flange, 300 by 40 is web, and 150 by 30 is the bottom flange. So now if you calculate this, it gives us Y as 229.83, and you have taken moment of all areas about bottom. So that will be 229.83 millimeter from bottom, and then you can write regarding what is Y bottom and Y top. So Y bottom value is 229.83 millimeter as calculated, and Y top, now complete depth of I section is 50 plus 300 plus 30. So that gives us 380, and from 380 if you deduct 229.83, that gives us Y top from neutral axis, that gives us 150.17. So now if you go for drawing that complete diagram, then it will be as shown. It was not shown earlier. Now with these calculations, y bottom, y top and position of neutral axis and the distances of individual rectangles from neutral axis, that is required to be calculated. So that is calculated and shown in this particular diagram. So what was calculated is y bottom from neutral axis is 229.83 millimeter. So it is drawn over here. This is position of neutral axis. This is the neutral axis position, and y bottom from neutral axis is 229.83 and y top from neutral axis is 150.17. So that was calculated. And then again for finding moment of inertia about neutral axis, you need distances between center of individual areas from neutral axis. So that is to be calculated and to be written over here in this diagram. So what is written is from top, centroid of first flange or top flange is 50 divided by 2, that is 25, and from 150.17 if you deduct that 25, then you will be getting the distance of centroid of top flange from neutral axis as 125.17 millimeter. Similarly, if you go for calculating the distance between neutral axis and centroid of web, then from bottom, centroid of web will be at 150 plus 30, so that is 180, and from bottom neutral axis is at 229.83. so if you deduct from 229.83 180, then you will be getting this calculation as 49.83 millimeter. So that is distance between the centroid of web and the neutral axis. Similarly, you can find the distance between centroid of bottom flange from neutral axis. So that gives us this distance, neutral axis from bottom is 229.83, and if you deduct 15, that is the position of centroid of bottom flange, 15 mm from bottom. So from 229.83, if you deduct 15, you get this calculation 214.83. That is distance of centroid of bottom flange from neutral axis. Now once these calculations are done, you can find what is moment of inertia of complete eye section about neutral axis. So now using parallel axis theorem, moment of inertia of complete eye section about the neutral axis, that we have discussed earlier many times. So that BD cube by 12 plus x square, that is the moment of inertia about its own centroid plus the area of that own cross section, and then the square of distance between two parallel axes. So that gives us for bottom flange, it is 250 into 50 cube divided by 12. So B is 250, D is 50. 250 into 50 cube divided by 12 plus area 250 into 50 plus distance between two parallel axes. So that is calculated 125.17 millimeter. So 125.17 square. That is moment of inertia of that top flange about neutral axis. That is calculated. Then moment of inertia of web about neutral axis. So its own moment of inertia is BD cube by 12, that is 40 into 350 cube. Sorry, 300 cube divided by 12. So 40 into 300 cube divided by 12 is written, plus area 300 into 40 and distance between its own centroid about neutral axis, that is 49.83 square. So that is written over here in second part of the analysis. And lastly, the moment of inertia of the bottom flange about neutral axis is required to be calculated. So its own moment of inertia is BD cube by 12, that is 150 into 30 cube divided by 12, and its area 150 into 30 into distance between its own centroid about neutral axis. That was calculated. That is 214.83 and 214.83 square. That is written over here. Now with this all terms, if you calculate, then you get the magnitude of moment of inertia about neutral axis of complete eye section as 526.27 into 10 to the power 6, and that is in millimeter to the power 4. So this is the first part of the calculations. Okay. So the moment of resistance as the beam is cantilever, maximum tensile stress will be at top and the maximum compressive stress will be at bottom. So that is hugging type of bending moment. So you need to remember that. Okay, and again the flexural formula is same as it is. M by I is equal to sigma by Y is equal to E by R, and it is written in terms of the compressive stress which is at bottom. So sigma C divided by Y bottom, and tensile stress sigma T divided by Y top. So with this, now if we correlate with sigma C to sigma T and permissible sigma T, if we consider what kind of or what will be magnitude of sigma C, that can be calculated, or else we can calculate sigma T value which can be there if the load is applied such that sigma C reaches its permissible value. So with that you can go for calculation, and we can say that well in which particular case the load applied is safe. So that will go for analysis of that part. So suppose for example if stress in tensile reaches its maximum value, and what will be the compressive stress at that particular position, then what can be written with equation that sigma C, if we are going for analysis of tensile stress, so load is applied in such a way that tensile stress reaches its permissible value. So for sigma C, that Y bottom, if it is taken on right part of the equation, then it will give us sigma T divided by Y top into Y bottom. So now these all terms are known. Sigma T, it is given permissible tensile stress is 60 megapascal, and then Y top that was calculated earlier, that is 150.17, that was calculated and multiplied with Y bottom, that is 229.83. So that is written over here, and if we go for that calculation, that gives us the compressive stress getting developed when sigma T reaches its value, that is 91.83 megapascal, and it is given that permissible compressive stress is 80 MPa. So this case is not the safe, it is unsafe case. So if we go further and if we apply stress related to compression, then if say compressive stress reaches its value, what will be value of tensile stress getting developed? If we go for calculating that, then the equation, this equation, it in terms of sigma T, if we take Y top on the left part, the equation will become sigma T is equal to sigma C into Y top divided by Y bottom. So that gives us permissible value of compressive stress is 80 into Y top. Y top is again 150.17 divided by that Y bottom. So that value of Y bottom, that is 229.83. So that is written over here. So 80, that is sigma C into Y top, that is 150.17 divided by Y bottom, that is 229.83. And if you calculate this, the value of sigma T becomes 52.27 megapascal, and that is less than 60 megapascal, which is permissible value of the compressive stress. So what we can conclude with this calculation is, if the load is applied in such a way that the stress, compressive stress reaches 91.83 megapascal value, when the maximum tensile stress reaches to its permissible stress, then that is not unsafe case. And if we load the beam in such a way that the stress, compressive stress reaches its permissible value, then the tensile stress getting developed at top will become 52.27 megapascal, and that is less than 60 megapascal. So what we can conclude is, second case is the safe limit. So if we load the beam in such a way that the permissible value of compressive stress, it reaches its value, then the tensile stress is less than the permissible value, and that is safe. So we can calculate now moment of resistance of the section by considering the the permissible stress of compression, because at that time tensile stress is lesser than its permissible value. So sigma c divided by y bottom. So what the part is considered, m by I is equal to sigma by y. So moment of resistance is equal to sigma divided by y into I. So now it is related to compression. So it is divided by y bottom. So 80 into 526.27 into 10 to the power 6. This was earlier calculated moment of inertia of that cross section about its neutral axis, and that is divided by y bottom, that is 229.83. And if we calculate this, then we get the moment of resistance of the cross section as 183.18 into 10 to the power 6. Again, all the calculations are in Newton and mm. So this moment of resistance is in Newton mm, and then it is written in kilonewton meter as 183.18 kilonewton meter. So now, as it is cantilever beam and subjected to UDL throughout, so that we have discussed earlier, that maximum bending moment will be WL square divided by 2. So now, if we rewrite that, maximum bending moment is WL square divided by 2. So that was written as 2W, W into 2 square divided by 2. That span is 2 meter. So 2W is equal to 183.18 kilonewton meter. That is moment of resistance. So maximum UDL that can be carried with given permissible stresses in compression and tension, and with given cross section of that beam, that can be calculated as the maximum uniformly distributed load carried by beam is W is equal to 91.6 kilonewton meter. So that is the numerical. So with these 5 numerical, whatsoever we have discussed in first lecture, again in second lecture and third lecture regarding one part of this module 3, that was bending stresses. So we are concluding this part, and from next lecture we will be going for a discussion regarding another part of the same module, that is shear stresses in beams. So I am concluding this lecture with this discussion, and I am thankful to you all. Thank you.